Hey there, I am so glad you're here. Come on in and enjoy Coffee Chat at the Cubby Hole. Okay, you might be thinking, coffee sounds fun, but girl, what is the Cubby Hole? The Cubby Hole was a divine little nudge on my heart, if you will, to build this space in our basement, in our home, where our friends and family could come and receive encouragement and love. And that's exactly what we've been doing. I've always known that the Cubby Hole would have a ripple effect out into the world, that it could bring encouragement and hope, not just to people that could visit here in person. That is exactly why I do Coffee Chats. I get to take some of the coolest people that are just like you and just like me, who have skill and talent, but most importantly, they have a vulnerable, relatable story that we can all glean some hope and encouragement from. So grab a coffee, cozy up, and enjoy Coffee Chats at the Cubby Hole. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm so glad you're here. How are you? How are you doing today? Okay, well, if you're a little blue, you're having a bit of a week where you just need a dose of inspiration, a little bit of hope. Well, here it is. Today's the day. This is the moment. I have it for you. I can't wait to introduce you to my special guest today. There's so much that I want to tell you about them. One of them is that we used to be neighbors. We're going to talk about that. But I'm going to be talking with a mother-son duo here in just a second, who bring so much light and inspiration. And that's not because their road has been easy. No. They have had quite the journey. I'm going to be introducing you here in a second to Peter and Dede Dankelson, mother and son. Peter was born with over 10 birth defects, one of them being cranial facial syndrome. And we're going to talk about all that they've been through, all that they've learned, and where they are now and what they're doing to bring so much light and joy into the world. So without further ado, I'd love to bring in my friends, Peter and Dede Dankelson. Hey guys, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you there in the Chicagoland area?
Oh, it's rainy here. Is it raining in Michigan this morning?
A little bit. Sun's out now, but it was rainy. It's going to be rainy later. Yes, but y'all bringing the sunshine. You for sure are. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, we're in Peter's guitar lair.
Yes, yeah.
I cannot wait to get to that. You guys, we're going to either hear him live, hopefully. I also have a clip I'm going to play later. Oh my gosh, quite the musician. We're going to get to that for sure. I was just mentioning that we used to be neighbors. You guys used to live right on the street behind us, and we miss you guys terribly.
Yeah, we miss the neighborhood.
Yes.
Your name comes up often in such a positive, joy-filled way, because you bring so much to wherever you go. I remember, Peter, do you remember this? Do you guys remember this? I interviewed you long before I knew I was going to have a show chatting with people. I interviewed you at my kitchen table, and we talked forever, and it was so great. It was
right. The moving truck was in our driveway at the time, I think. And we came over. I'm like, I'm going to be on video. I have to look.
I remember that. Yeah, that was like days.
I still have the quote, the little graphic that you did. It comes up every once in a while. I see it.
Oh my gosh. Remember that? I mean, yeah, the moving truck was in your driveway. Talk about dedicated friends and neighbors. Look, move the couch. We're going to run to our friend's house and do an interview. And then I'll be right back. BRB.
Yeah.
I love that. I need to do more with that footage. I have it. And that was before I knew how to edit and do all the things that I now know how to do. So I have that somewhere. It's going to resurface.
That would be interesting, because that was before your big jaws. I mean, his face has changed a lot since then. If you go back and look, you'll notice.
Yes.
I mean, in your face, with all the surgeries, you've been through, how many, is it 35 surgeries?
Yeah.
Wow, that's an inspiration all in itself. I mean, there are people that haven't, we have such surgery anxiety or that had never had a surgery, and to know that you've been through 35.
Yep.
That, yeah. And yes, and to see that there's been a transformation physically for you. And you can see it in the progression with pictures and looking back and when memories pop up on Facebook. Dede, or whoever wants to start, but Dede, I know that Pete's Diary, your platform, which by the way, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I mean, you guys have thousands and thousands of followers, which just brings me such joy because it shows that people are gravitating toward, the goodness and the light in the world. But you started this diary years ago in the NICU when Peter spent his first part of his life, several months in the NICU. Would you tell us about it?
Yeah, the diary started. So Peter was born in 2000. He's 20 now. So it was 20. So it's sort of like a 2-decade journey here we're on so far. And when he was born, social media, I say it was the dark ages of dial-up internet, like you've got mail.
Remember that sound we had to wait on? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no broadband, there was no Facebook, nothing like that. So, everyone was concerned about Peter and our family and, genuinely wanted updated. And I got tired of repeating myself all the time. It's like an emotional, you're going through so many emotions. So I started writing a daily update and it was emailed. So it was basically a blog. At the time, you could say went viral because I don't know how many people forwarded it to other people. And they're like, oh, I have it every morning. I read it every morning with my coffee because, people weren't getting on Facebook at the time. They were happy to have something like that to read.
Right.
And I wrote in Peter's voice. I wrote from his voice. I think it was easier for me emotionally to write from his perspective than my own because I was dealing with so many very raw emotions at the time. Right. And so that went on for like 4 months. He was in the NICU for 102 days. All his first holidays from Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's were all in the NICU. And what's really funny now with the whole presidential election and stuff going on is that was when the day of the hanging Chad, when we didn't have a president for a while after that election because who was it? Gore and I don't even remember who. Oh, Bush, because he won. But I would come in. It's so funny because it's like, oh, you remember certain things of that time. I would come in and be like, do we have a president yet or not? No. So
you go back.
Yeah. But yeah, so that I kind of died off then after he came home and I was consumed with taking care of him and everything. And I would post occasional updates. But then fast forward several years when you were like it was 2012 when the book Wonder came out by R.J. Palacio. If you haven't read it, please go get it. It's a great story for any age. It's written for like a 5th grade level, probably reading level. And it's about a boy it's about a fictional character that has a similar craniofacial syndrome to Peter. And just all the trials of, as you can imagine, of him going to school for the first time. He's homeschooled and then starts into this private school. And Peter just had so many similarities to this character. And at the time, I was chairman of the board of directors for Children's Craniofacial Association, CCA, which is a charity that's helped our family immensely through this journey of just knowing other kids like Peter and parents like ourselves going through the same things, and siblings too for Peter's brother. He has a younger brother now. But so Wonder kind of kicked off, revived Pete's Diary again because we started speaking teachers like Lisa Drew, who is also a neighbor of ours. She's like, why don't you come in and talk to my class? Because we're reading Wonder and it would be so cool if Peter came in and told them like what it's really like to be Augie is the fictional character. Peter is the real life version. But I mean, they both loved their dogs. They were around the same age. Their birthdays are only 3 days apart. They both loved Star Wars. Peter was a huge Star Wars fan at the time. You still are, but you were really into it then.
Yes. I had to say, I remember that because you used to run around in the backyard, all the kids, and I think you had your lightsaber. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I remember. And my kids, the older kids, when I told them that I was going to have you guys on, they remember that too. Yeah.
Oh, that is so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's traded in the lightsaber for a guitar now, but you're still a Star Wars
It's
fan.
his lightsaber, yeah.
A Star Wars fan, always a Star Wars fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of how Pete's Diary came back. And we're like, well, what should we call this thing we're doing? We'll call it Pete's Diary as a way for people to get in touch with us. And so, we went and spoke with Lisa's class, and then, it just kind of word of mouth happened. And I saw it as a way to educate the public about craniofacial syndromes because the public really doesn't understand those. I mean, everyone's heard of cleft lip and cleft palate, but, Treacher Collins, Goldenhar syndrome, what Peter has, Aper, Pfeiffer, there's all these other syndromes and conditions and what they go through and everything, not just socially, but also medically. So it gave us a platform to go in and educate the general public about acceptance and inclusion.
Yeah.
And we got as much out of it as we hope other people did by listening to Peter's story. But so we've been doing that now since like 2013, something like that.
Yeah. You mentioned Lisa Drew. Yes, you were the neighbors that lived this way. She lives that way, directly across the street. Yeah. She's her own version of an angel. She is always, she's a teacher, and she's always pouring into others, and she's always helping shine the light of other people. And I love that you said that she gave you your first chance, right? Your first opportunity to speak. And then from there, it was just ignited in you that just to see the power of speaking. And talk about that and going and speaking and what that has opened up for you, especially in your heart. I mean, you have a chance, a powerful chance. Thank goodness for Lisa taking the initiative on that and inviting you. Now you're speaking everywhere. Tell us about what that brings out in you, the feeling of being able to go and speak and talk to people that may not know what to do or say in certain situations.
What do you get from the speaking?
Well, it's really powerful because not only am I sharing my story with others, but we also talk about like similarities that we all have, because it's really interesting because sometimes, you'll see kids walk in and they'll kind of be like, all right, who is this guy? Typical middle school stuff, right? All right, what's this assembly about?
The eye roll.
Right.
Yeah, wow.
Well, and then I sometimes play guitar at the beginning of the assembly, so I think that helps get a bit of interesting credibility there, right? Going through the presentation and talking about what I've been through and how we're more alike than different, sharing all these similarities that we all have. It's really neat to see their faces kind of start to go, you can see the wheels turning in their head, and you can see them making that connection. And then at the end of the assembly, they'll come up and talk to me, and it's a really powerful thing. It never gets old.
We're missing it.
Yeah,
I know. Not being able to go out and do speaking, it's hard. Yeah, that is hard. I know. We're all going to be back at it sometime soon, hopefully. Peter, what's that?
I hope so.
Yeah.
What I was feeling when you said that is I feel like it disarms not the person that might be looking at you, or maybe whatever might be going through their mind. It disarms the feeling of confusion and not knowing what to do, right? We're not knowing what to do or say. I heard this. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but the book Wonder, that the author wrote that book because she was in a coffee shop maybe with her child, and they stumbled on, we'll tell that story. I'll let you tell it. And then I want to go back to how that relates to the kids in that audience.
Do you want to tell it, or
you can tell it?
Peter's kind of congested.
I'm all stuffed.
So yes, that is true. She was in a ice cream shop with her two boys, and they're a little, I don't know how far apart in age. They're a little far apart in age. One was very young in a stroller, I think, and the other one was a little older. But the younger one was scared. There was a little girl or boy, I've heard different versions of this story, but there's someone with a craniofacial syndrome there that was around the age of, like, say 10, something like that. And her youngest son was startled by the other person's face and scared. Because if you think about it too, he was little, but most of what we see of facial differences is scary. You think of like a Freddy Krueger or all these like horror movies or anyone like with, it's like, it's a bad image. Right.
Right.
But, she was embarrassed. She didn't know what to do as a parent.
Right.
And so she just sort of like, let's go, she didn't want to cause a scene, like, let's go. But then she said she kept thinking about it because she's like, that was a learning opportunity that I could have given my kids, where I could have just talked to this little girl and said, hey, I like your shirt, or, I love the color red too, or, make a connection and show your child that there's nothing to fear from differences.
Right.
And so she felt like, how many times have we all done that as a parent or even as a person, where you feel like you had a missed opportunity? It's always, you always think things after, right? Like, I should have said that.
The Monday morning quarterback feeling. I could have done that.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
So, and she started writing Wonder that night.
Yeah. And I heard she just wrote it and wrote and she was so inspired, and what a blessing, and what a blessing you guys are. And Peter, yeah, that's what I was saying about these kids. When you go and speak, you're disarming. They may not want to feel what they're feeling. They may not even know what they're feeling. They may feel like they gotta feel whatever the person next to them is feeling or acting in a way. But then when it all calms down, you're done playing guitar and you speak to them, you give them this opportunity, which was one of the mission statements and objectives of what you both do, is to help people have an understanding and to be able to, with courage and confidence, address others with regard to our differences. So talk about that too. I love that you're doing this work. I mean, watching, and I'm going to promote this to kids, because at that young age, you don't know what to do, and you're just doing what everybody else is doing. You don't know what to do.
Well, I don't think parents know what to do either.
Exactly.
I mean, I had never had experience with dealing with differences either before I had Peter. And like we like to say too, when you go and speak to students, is doing that second look is perfectly normal. Like, when you see something, when your eye catches something that is not what you would expect, like a missing ear, you're gonna do a double take, and that's okay. But what you do after that says a lot more about you and your comfort level with differences than it does about him and his differences.
Right.
So, like Peter will say, like, I get that you're going to do a double take. I know I'm different. It's not big news to me. But, when you point and whisper and stare, and like when he was younger, not so much now, but when he was younger, kids would chase him on the playground. And it's like little kids, they just wanted to like touch his ear, or he had a trach at the time and things like that. I don't know. And sometimes it was just genuine curiosity, and other times it was, not so nice. But you kind of, I feel like you were given this gift of like kind of knowing the difference.
That's a gift. That is a gift. Yeah,
it is a gift. Because I was always so stressed out about it, but I kind of started to learn from him how to, like, I would take cues from him, like if the kids were genuine or not. I wouldn't try to force it after a while, because I was like, you know what? I think he kind of knows.
I have seen that in you, Peter. All in knowing you, I just, when you mentioned that is true. I always felt this sense of confidence in you. That's why I always felt such inspiration from you, because you just, no matter what you were going through, I don't think it's because you were, repressing it either. It's tough to repress our feelings. And maybe I'm sure, not maybe, I know there is a lot you've had to deal with as far as working through some of the feelings that you, I'm sure, were processing in those moments with kids doing that. But you do have this natural, God-given ability to just, I don't know, you just always exude confidence in it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because all he wanted for his 5th birthday, when he started kindergarten, it's kind of when he started really noticing he was different from the other kids, because it was the first time he was in school and, with peers. And he wanted an ear. He's like, can I get a big ear? Like, he thought that if I had an ear, I would blend in with everybody. I would fit in. It would make me, more like everyone. Because, like, especially, I mean, once you start school, that pressure kind of builds. And then middle school, when you're going through puberty and all that stuff, and all these changes are happening, you really want to blend in. You don't want to stand out. But now that you're 20, you look back and you go, like, he doesn't wear the prosthetic ear anymore. I mean, we still have.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one right here.
I was going to ask you about that. We were just talking about how you choose to not wear it, and I find that it's awesome. I mean, tell us why you choose to not wear it when you have the option to wear it. Now it's like there's been a switch, and you feel about it.
Well, I kind of wish there was a really exciting answer, but truth is, I don't really wear it anymore. Well, it's kind of a pain to try and put on by yourself because you have to put this adhesive glue on it and dry it and, line it up and all this stuff. And you have to get it first try too, or else it doesn't stick too well. And the other thing was glasses because, you got one ear, no ear. You try and put glasses on, it just goes sideways.
Oh my gosh.
So that doesn't really work, unless you're wearing the ear. So I have contacts now. So I'm like, well, the ear's kind of a pain to put on.
Well, it's probably not the most comfortable thing to wear, but what I like to say is you got the ear and you loved it and you were so proud of it to go to school, little 5th grade with your Bob the Builder backpack and everything. Yeah. And you wore it all through middle school and everything. But I mean, the kids, he was in a private school. All the kids knew him from 1st to 8th grade. They were your protectors, not your tormentors.
Yes.
And what I like about that, what I learned from that situation is that those kids grew up knowing about his differences and that it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that they were his protectors, not his tormentors.
Mm-hmm.
And now those kids are adults that have the same thoughts and reaction to people who are different. But more than anything for you, the ear, I think as you got older, you realized, I mean, of course, when we moved to Illinois and you're starting high school, I mean, all you wanted to do was blend in again and like just go unnoticed, there were dudes with like full beards going into high school and there's little like little freshmen, like, please don't hurt me. Yeah. It's intimidating, right? So you don't want to go notice. But the bottom line is it doesn't change who you are as a person. Wearing a prosthetic is not going to change who your friends should be. Like it didn't change the fact that you loved Star Wars or didn't. It didn't make you a popular football player, in that it didn't change who your social group was. It didn't change who you were. It didn't change the fact that you would eventually find a guitar, pick up a guitar. So with or without a prosthetic, you're the same person. Right,
exactly, for sure. And along with that, Pete, what did you do in that situation when you were in a brand new school? Obviously, to speak to the kids that maybe they had to be the new kid or whether they're not, what did you do to turn that around for yourself? Now you're in a whole new situation. You have to disarm everybody again. And what did you do? Did you use humor? What did you do to feel like you could fit in or to have people understand you a little bit more? I mean, sometimes you have to do it. It's even nonverbal because you don't always have a chance to speak in those moments.
Yeah, it was beginning of high school was definitely interesting because, I went to like a small private Catholic school. And, the grade was like 50 kids, 200 people in like the entire school, right? And then, moving to Illinois, I was going into high school and there were like 2,000 kids.
Right.
So that was, and, like Mom said, you walk in there and you see the seniors with like, I'm used to like the dress code and all that, right? There's like, guys with beards and all this stuff. And I'm like, what? And then on top of that, being the new kid from out of state,
yeah.
And, looking the way that I do, I'm like, oh, man. I was very intimidated
and meek, kind of. I mean, your high school is a great high school. It was a really good experience for him.
Yes.
But yeah, in that beginning, it's like, and I still remember because, we were doing the speaking, right? And Wonder was really getting popular, like more and more and more. And then, they made the movie came out and all that. And when you started high school, we were still doing the speaking. So I had to explain to school why he was missing. Like, I had to talk to them about he's going to miss school because we do this and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So some of the administration and teachers started to learn what we were doing. And they're like, well, why doesn't he ever talk about this at school? Like, tell us about yourself, Peter. Or, because if he talked about it, he would have to talk about his differences, like why he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he would go talk to 300 kids in a gymnasium about his differences, but he wouldn't, the kids at his lunch table,
right.
He didn't want to say anything.
Yeah. And it's like that, like the opportunity just organically presents itself, where you want to just,
right. You're like, oh, by the way, yeah.
I'm imagining if your story became a movie and you were daydreaming. I'm just imagining you just wanted to daydream about just pulling the guitar out of your locker and just like just start playing some rock and roll, and everybody like, oh my god. But since you couldn't do that, so go ahead, Dede. How did you speak the truth in your story when you don't even really have a chance at the lunch table?
Yeah, he I mean, I was just being the worried mom, it was like talking to his guidance counselor here and there, and she's like, he seems to be doing fine. And but eventually it got out more and more from the teachers and stuff. And they, teachers are great at this, knowing they know something about the student that maybe the student hasn't, said to the entire class or anything, but they'll draw it out or, whatever. But I think eventually it just sort of organically came about because he was honored at, we went out to California. He was honored at Global Genes, another charity, as a champion of hope. Mm-hmm. And so the administration wanted to highlight that, as a student that had done something. So it just kind of got out to the administration and through the school and then students and some of the clubs and activities.
Right. And then, another thing too, the kids, one of my friends saw me on social media, and posted about that stuff on there, and they're like, oh,
why don't you ever talk about that?
Yeah.
So I think, it was a good, I don't know. It happened by chance or how it happened, but it wasn't intentional, but it was good that it all came out because that gave you a sense of like, it's okay to talk about, like he learned that I can do this. I can be different and I can be public about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's that social proof too. I love that. It's like that Julia Roberts moment. I don't know, Peter, if you've ever seen Pretty Woman, but she just, it's like all of a sudden she's like, people see they see a different truth, or they see her in a different way. And she's like, like, you shouldn't have judged me. Not that you're saying that, but it was kind of a moment where, things turn pretty quickly. And, I love that. I love that for you. I want to talk about your social channels in a minute, but, you do have Pete's Diary, and it does just bring so much inspiration to everybody. You're now what you're doing, Dede. I know you're still doing a little writing, but Pete, you're playing the guitar, and you're just inspiring people so much. Tell us how you started. You started at 15 with your dad's guitar. You just picked it up, and that was it. That was it for you.
Yeah. So it was like right after. It was kind of around the time we moved.
Mm-hmm. End of your freshman year.
Yeah, well,
the spring.
I picked up the guitar then, but kind of when we were moving, I kind of started to listen to a little bit more rock and roll. And then I kind of built up over that entire freshman year. And kind of at the end of the school year, I'm like, I said to Dad one day, I'm like, oh, I think it would be fun to learn how to play guitar. I think it would be kind of interesting. Dad's like, okay. And I was lucky because he still has his guitar and amp and a little distortion pedal from when he was growing up. So, he set up all this stuff and kind of showed me, this is how this pedal works and, plugs into the amp and, here's the guitar and all that stuff. And then I started looking up stuff on YouTube and, and I've been hooked on it ever since.
Oh my gosh. Before we go any further, I have to do this real quick. I am going to play a video of you playing guitar. If we're lucky and you're able to play live, well, that would just be icing on the cake. But let me just play this.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I can't even tell you how much I love watching you. I chase my family around the house. Like, look at him. Look at him. Oh my gosh, he's playing Pink Floyd. He's doing it. I've sent clips to my brother, who is just a diehard music fan, and I'm just telling him all about you. I ran upstairs before we started. I ran in my daughter's room. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to wear my daughter's AC/DC shirt, but do you think I could find it in her room? I don't know. Could not find it. I'm like, I want to wear AC/DC. Oh, you're bringing rock and roll just to the forefront. You're so talented. I mean, how much time have you spent I mean, you probably can't even calculate it, but it's insane how good you are.
And it's, just having fun.
And I saw when you have your social channels on here, and there's a lot of followers. And I was reading some notes from people for you. And one of them,
incredible.
It's unbelievable what you're doing in so many ways. You were already speaking and inspiring people. And this person said, I flip through your videos and watch you play guitar. It really changes my vibe. I've been showing your content to my friends and family. And the other person was talking about how when they're feeling bummed, they just tune into you. I mean, that's beautiful. I love that your tagline there in your shirt says, amplify positive vibes. Literally and figuratively. So cool.
Yeah. And I think, the social media, it's really taken off in the last 6 months or so.
One of your channels, you have 235,000. So, is that right?
Yeah.
On TikTok, I think it's more than that now, actually.
Oh my God, exactly.
It keeps growing, but it's interesting.
It's not about likes and followers. Obviously, that's not our measuring stick for who we are. But it just goes to show this opportunity of what you guys bring. I'm so happy to see that it's being appreciated.
Yeah, right. The following, it's not so much the number count, but the impact that you can make.
Yes.
And so that gives us the ability to influence people positively. And we want to be kind of a safe space on social media that's all about positive vibes.
Yes.
And so far, I think we've done that. And I mean, it's mostly guys that just love guitars and music and stuff. And they're drawn in. I mean, one of my favorite comments was, I was drawn in by your talent. I never even noticed that you had any differences or anything. When I saw you playing, I was just like, oh, this kid's good. But then I stayed for the story because I was just like, are you kidding me? He has a story too. It's just like more to it. But isn't that life? There's always more than what you see initially. It's all about, your perspective and you see more than what's there. And with Peter and the guitar, I mean, I remember when you picked up the guitar, I thought, there's no way he's going to keep playing this because it's going to be hard, right? Your fingers hurt. It's hard to learn. I thought he's not going to be able to learn how to do this, but he learned in his own way. He doesn't read music. He doesn't use tabs and stuff like that. He's all like just before we came on, he was listening to a song, just hearing it and like playing it. But it took until he was 15 to find that. And some of us, it takes way longer, some of us are still searching, but as parents, you want to find that thing for your kid to give them a social group to be in. For his brother, it's hockey. Those are his people, those are the kids he hangs out with and stuff. And with Peter, he was the Star Wars and kind of everybody started to outgrow the whole fantasy play. Peter kind of stayed in it longer. So it was like, what, and then you've got the guys that love it was the Stranger Things show. I always think about them because they love, what's the show or that game they play?
Oh, it's been so long.
Whatever. I don't know. I hate to use the term nerds, but like the guys that do, he was in Legos, whatever. We've tried karate. We tried. I have a picture of him like with a band, like what was it, a trombone or something that lasted like all of 6 months. You go through all these things with your kids.
That's always been in you, that musical talent. And what if you hadn't have kind of stumbled on it? We were just watching, which I know you'll appreciate, the band Queen. They're incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Have you seen the Adam Lambert Queen, the documentary about how oh my gosh, so good. But I love, I'm sorry, what did you say? There's a little bit of a delay, so sometimes.
Oh, yeah. It's a documentary on Netflix, right?
So good. I love it all. every bit of it. What I love also so much is his mom, interviewing Adam Lambert's mom. And she said, we had him in T-ball, all these things. And finally he joined theater. And it's so important. You know, we learned that as parents is, you know, and I was painting our bathroom the other day, and I had Little House on the Prairie on. It just happened. It just struck me. Little House on the Prairie was on, and one of the characters wanted his son to be just like him. He wanted him to go hunting, and this kid was like, I don't want to hunt. And it's such a good, it's such a, that and her story and Adam Lambert's family to just such a good reminder to parents to just love your kids, let them try the different things, but love them with who they are and what their interests are, right? We all, you know, as parents, I have to remind myself of that because sometimes they're, oh, why don't you like this? Maybe you could try it. It's
right.
This gift.
So you have to weigh that, like when to push, and with the guitar, when he picked it up, I didn't put him in lessons or anything. You know, it was obvious he was sticking with it a little bit, like he was interested and kept, you know, playing. But you know, his dad and I were like, well, you know what? Let's just let him go with it because everything else we'd always put him in something, and then it kind of ruined it for him.
Right. Yeah. Because you have it's, and I also love that you have a prosthetic ear. And but on the other side, like that's how you learn. Yeah. Powerful. Other side, play by ear. Like you hand your ear to your instructor. You're like, here, I do play by. But that's so important too because one of our kids we kept forcing into the lessons because they wanted to learn. Well, if you have to go to lessons, but she just picked it up by ear. It's just again.
A lot of musicians are like that.
Yeah,
there's a lot, but one of the it was almost like a divine intervention too, because he picked up that guitar. It was the end of his freshman year, a few months before he decided to have. So he had a surgery every summer in high school.
Pretty much.
And the first one that you had between your freshman and sophomore year was for the hearing aid. And you're supposed to have that. And a lot of it was because of the Bluetooth feature with the music. But having that guitar and the music really gave him a way to cope with going through everything he had to go through during the summer. Because when you talk about Queen and Adam Lambert, he had the next summer between his sophomore and junior year, he had his major jaw surgery that changed his face completely. And it took nearly a year to recover from that surgery. Yeah. It was a long recovery. So he had the surgery in June, and in July, I was just looking for something to do, like to get out of the house. And Queen and Adam Lambert were at the United Center in Chicago. So we went to see them. And this is so funny. This is the difference between a mom and dad, right? I got the tickets. I have a lot of stories like this. I got the tickets because he's a reflection. He's a product of two parents, not one. You know, I'm doing this a lot, but Darren's definitely there, his influence. And Darren's like, because Peter was still drooling a lot because he couldn't swallow. He couldn't feel like his face. He didn't have feeling. So he had this dish rag he kept carrying around to wipe his mouth. And, you know, it was embarrassing. And he's like, well, I have to have something because, and Darren's like, I'm not going to the rock concert with you using a dish towel. Like, I'm not going. So I'm like, okay. So I found like a handkerchief and like wrapped it up, a bandana, and wrapped it up around. I'm like, just go like this. And it looks rock, right? Like go like this.
Oh my gosh. I love how that is like, the combination of the dad view and the mom view.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I love that. You're a real rocker. You know, you're
not taking a towel to the rock concert.
I love that story. Peter, who influences you? Obviously it inspires you. You have your family who's they're literally by your side, figuratively, they have been all along. Other than your family, who inspires you? Who has inspired you along your journey?
You know, it's really cool because there's kind of like a blend of the there's guitar players that have also had to overcome their own physical, disabilities, and they've had their own medical challenges as well. And finding out more and more about some of these guys, they've really, really inspired me. Like Tony Iommi, he's a guitarist for Black Sabbath. He was right before he decided to, go out and, make a living playing. He said it was his last day of work, and he worked in an industrial plant, and one thing led to another, and basically a machine came down on his fingertips, and he ended up ripping out the top and the middle and ring finger.
I didn't know that.
So he was like, well, I guess I can't play. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, it's cool because he said somebody he knew showed him a video or, a record of Django Reinhardt. And Django Reinhardt was like a gypsy jazz guitar player. And he only played with 2 fingers because, well, I think he was in like a bad fire or something. And it's cool. There's a cool video of him online. And you could see him playing like these really cool, like, gypsy jazz lifts. And you can see it's just 2 fingers.
Wow.
It's really neat. But Iomi said that gave him the strength to like, okay, if he could do that with 2 fingers, I can try and, get back into playing. So he, did all this experimenting, and eventually he found out how to make prosthetic fingertips just from like, I think he like melted down some like old bottles and stuff and made like they almost look clay-ish, but he had like leather that he cut out of a jacket and he put it on the tips of the prosthetic fingers so that he could grip the string so it wouldn't like slip around. And
Wow.
it worked for him. And then it's, there's a whole bunch of kind of neat things that led to, like innovative wise. Like he would down tune the guitar and it sounded a bit heavier. Black Sabbath is kind of known for their darker sound. They're kind of, I guess, talked about as the kind of original heavy metal guys because they kind of down low and it was a bit of a darker sound. So it's he kind of says it's almost like a blessing in disguise. He's like, yeah, it stinks that this happened, but we would have never had the sound that we did. And that's just like one of the cool things.
Wow. That is cool. I can see.
One more guy I'll talk about. There's a few more. Paul Stanley from Kiss. He was born with microtia, or he's missing an ear as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Find a picture.
No, you can't really see many photos, but he talks about it a little bit. And I read his book a while back. And this is actually really funny because I thought I was so smart when I did this, but apparently he did it first. But he said when he was growing up, what he liked to do is he would put his bad side against the stereo, and he would feel the vibrations kind of like vibrating against his head, and then he could kind of hear it. I'm lost. Yeah, he said he could feel the vibrations from the stereo, and it's funny because like a little while before, I was kind of doing the same thing with my phone. Like I would take my phone and I would place the speaker against my head, and it would just kind of vibrate. I'd be like, "That's kind of cool." Like, that's funny. I guess I wasn't the first to try that.
It goes to show when you want something, when you really you have this strong desire, you find a way. That they are inspiring. You are so incredibly inspiring. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it makes all that you're doing even more awesome. Because and I love that. I mean, I can absolutely see. I did not know that about either of those musicians. And that is just fun.
There's a lot of stories. Well, and you like with your thumb. Yeah, I think, and that's what Peter's doing for all the social beauty followers that love to play guitar, but different struggles and learning. They're like, well, if he can learn with one ear and a thumb that doesn't bend, then surely I can learn a little bit,
For sure.
Like that's what sharing stories does, right?
Yeah. I'm a huge. That's my hot button. Our story.
Yeah.
And learning from them for ourselves and then for others. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. I feel like the story is part of your purpose in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. What we know is important, but where we've been, that's what people, that's the relatability element and the willingness to be vulnerable and to share. And that's what I love about both of you. You could have just held these cards that you were dealt in your life close to your chest and just, but you share. And I love that. I love that you share. I want to talk to a couple more things. One is you always add a dose of humor to what you do. Tell us why humor is so important to you and how do you do it?
But I mean, this is what we talk about all the time. Like laughter is the universal connector, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone, you know, it connects. It really does connect everyone. And it shows people that I am comfortable with myself, you know, that I can laugh, you know. You want to laugh in the right way, though, you know.
Right. I have
get it with you. Yeah, not at you. Yeah.
What's that?
We try to make a distinction with the kids. It's like, it's not getting people to laugh at you. It's getting people to laugh with you and feeling comfortable talking about your differences or whatever is going on, you know.
Yeah. You know, I'm a firm believer in laughter. I have a wall here behind me of all these awesome comedians. And, you know, in talking to all of my friends, we all agree that laughter is medicinal, number one. And laughter, it stems from, again, a story. You know, sometimes it's used in healing. So, you know, it's so powerful. And we can't overlook that. And I love that you don't. I love that you bring that element. Oh my gosh, so much. Is there anything else that you guys want to add? We're going to be wrapping up in a minute. But is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? And then I want to add a few things at the end here.
I'm usually not at a loss for words, but
no, I love it. Peter, do you mind? Could you play for us live?
Yeah.
Putting too much pressure on you? That'd be awesome. I am so inspired because I've always wanted to learn to play guitar. We have one sitting upstairs and I don't know why. Peter, what would you say to people if they want to get started, but they just feel overwhelmed because everybody has to start somewhere?
Right.
In that boat, what would you say?
Well, it's definitely tricky at first because there's so much to figure out. But I think one of the main things is like just kind of figure out like the basic chords, like, you know, like an E, A, D, G, C, all that stuff. Yeah. It's already used in like millions of songs. So once you get those kind of main chords under your belt, it kind of, you know, they all kind of feed into each other a little bit. So that's kind of nice.
I love that you give almost lessons on your social channels. Like you'll just give a little tidbit.
Yeah.
You'll just share something or a fun fact about rock and roll, or you give a little bit of information just to keep people inspired for that day. I love it.
Yep. All right. I'm going to get out of the way for so you can play. Can you hear him okay? Well, he's not playing right now.
Free bird! No.
His dad and I yell that a lot.
Oh my gosh. AC/DC is like, it's the soundtrack of my childhood.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Classic.
Oh, that was the warm-up, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. Any requests? I don't know if he can do it or not.
We'll see.
Oh, let's see. You played what?
What do you got?
Crazy Train.
What was that?
Crazy Train.
Ooh, Crazy Train. You have played that. It's been a while, but
anything. What's your favorite, Peter?
My favorite's AC/DC. I mean, is it not obvious?
We saw Back in Black. Oh gosh.
Okay, so you're gonna play something
All Night Long. Any of them?
Yeah.
Ooh, All Night Long. Yeah.
Viewers have a request, a rock and roll request. Type it in the comments.
Oh yeah.
I guess I teased you guys with this earlier. You could do this one.
Dede, as a mom, what's your advice when your kids are learning a very loud instrument? do you have earmuffs? Do you have?
You know what? It's funny because the best part, he plays 80s music, which is my generation, right? So,
rock on, Peter.
So I don't have a problem with it because, you know, every once in a while he'll be doing something repetitive. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you please like turn it down, or, you know, if we're going to sleep. But now Jake loves all the rap music, and I mean, I don't like the current. I like older rap music, but that would probably annoy me, like if I had to listen to it all the time.
Yeah.
But, some of the language and stuff, but I guess there's some bad language in this stuff too.
I know.
It's my generation, so I guess I like it.
I know. I find myself, yelling at my kids, and I'm like, wait, I did listen to Ozzy Osbourne a little bit, so
Right. Yeah.
You like the beat, right?
Yeah, exactly. You ready? Okay. All right, he's ready now.
Oh my gosh. My face hurts. I was literally smiling so hard. I had to keep moving my mouth because I was smiling so hard. Look, I've got this later. I've got it all. I was wanting to rock like a concert. I've got them both. My face, I was smiling so hard. My cheeks were actually cramping. I am so inspired by you. I am just so proud of you look at that. You are amazing. Unbelievable.
Isn't that the thing about music, though? It brings you back to a time like that song for us, at least for me, it brings you back to a time in your life of
100%. All of it. Yes. We played that album over and over and over again. And I owe a lot of that to my brother. A lot of the influences that I the rock and roll, all the music, ELO, that was my first introduction to really, really good music. My brother, he used to do his bike, his paper route on his yellow delivery bike, and then he would take the money and go buy. He was always inspired by music. Go buy albums. Sure. Still is. You are
a record player with vinyl records. Yeah. And that's coming back. Too. It's coming back. Yeah, and I can't believe we just bought him a record player for his birthday. But vinyl's like a thing. Yeah.
Here's another. I was putting comments up, but that was outrageous. I know it was, Deanne. So good. Peter, if you could play on stage with a one rock band, you had to pick one, who would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is? I figured I knew right away what you were saying.
There's a lot of bands, but that's the guys that really mean the most to me and really kind of impacted me the most. It would have to be AC/DC.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good. And I see you online. You're playing with other people. You're doing guest spots, and they're inspired by you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. You guys have been such a joy. I am so glad you were able to join me. I am so thankful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We're doing virtual speaking, and we hope to do in-person speaking again. But if you want to contact us, our website is Pete'sDiary.com. So.
Pete'sDiary.com. It is Pete. I refer to it in the promo as Peter's Diary, but it's Pete'sDiary.com. Yes, guys. Yes, you would be. Oh my God, I want to have you here at the Cubby Hole. I not only want to telling your story, but just blowing the walls out with that guitar. We'll have to provide Cubby Hole ear, in this small space. Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You guys are such a joy. Is there anything that you want to add at the end before we go?
No, just have a great weekend, everyone, and be you. You do you.
Yeah. Rock out who you are. That's the message. Who you are, and be confident in who you are, right? And I just, have that ability and that courage just to accept others for who they are and love everybody just where they're at. So, Oh my God. Oh, Dede, I can't go. I got so excited. You were playing, Peter. I wanted to ask you before we go, what role did faith play in this? I know you and I were talking that faith, it was kind of like you were going along, but then as you turned around, and I think that's what's so relatable to people. Maybe you're not feeling it, or you're not even realizing it at the time. When you turn around, you go, huh. And you did just refer to divine intervention.
For him, I think it was the guitar. For me, I read a lot. I had to do a lot of soul searching. I don't think I had a lot of faith in the beginning.
Right.
I was just sort of lost and shocked and angry.
Mm-hmm.
And in the midst of grief. And then as the years went by, and other things in my past, it's like, well, you either have to accept things the way they are, and that you have to figure out what you can and can't change.
Right.
And I can't change the fact that he was born with golden heart syndrome, but I can make the most of it. I can, use it in my life. And I think that's when faith starts to creep in.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Pete's Diary thing, with him, he graduated from high school in 2019, and we're trying to figure out what's next for him, because it was kind of clear to Darren and I that college probably wasn't his next move. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had to have another big surgery, so it wouldn't have been right away anyways, but we just didn't know. And he's never had a traditional path. And that's the role of faith through all this, is that traditional path, you have to have the faith that it's not what you think it's going to be. You kind of, I don't know, it's the unknown, right? And we're still in the midst of that, the unknown.
Right.
It's not like Pete's Diary is a financially independent company or anything like that. We have faith that if we keep doing this, that, we're going to impact more lives, and that somehow, it'll be sustainable long term. But and that's sort of the faith. You know, I quit working. I quit working when he was born, but then I was kind of doing part-time work here and there, and I kind of just quit everything and pursued this full time as the business owner. And that was faith. That was just, I'm like, I just feel drawn to do this. Like something is nudging me to do this.
That divine.
Yeah, I
feel like divine is what I refer to it as. That the Holy Spirit in all of us, that we feel it. It's sometimes we may look for it, and sometimes it's written form, but sometimes it's just that feeling and that knowing. What about you? How would you answer that with regard to faith?
Well, definitely going through the surgeries and all that. You know, especially in recovery time. You know, everyone's like, well, how do you, you know, especially with some of like the real rough ones, like how do you like have the strength to go through all that? You know, that must be really hard. Well, definitely, you know, it helps to have family by your side.
Right.
You know, great doctors and all that too. But ultimately, you know, it really does come down to faith. And, you know, like willpower as well too. Like a combination of all those things.
Sometimes the two are kind of like, you can't differentiate one from the other, I don't think. It is mental courage, mental strength, but faith is behind it. The ability to have that mental strength and courage, I think, is the faith part.
Yeah, it's the faith and the divine knowing that, yes, the byproduct is the willpower, the ability to carry on. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's so good to see you. I don't know, to see you
in person.
I am dreaming about, you know, being on stage with you guys here at the Cubby Hole and warming some hearts here in person. So thank you so much, you guys.
Rock the Cubby Hole.
Yes.
Stay on. I want to talk to you in just a second.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Oh my gosh, I love them. Talk about a dose of inspiration and hope. They are so incredible. Now I'm going to go and see if I can dust off some AC/DC albums and maybe get a turntable, because that was incredible. I'm going to go and download some music and enjoy all those rock songs from the 80s. But more importantly than all that, I'm just so thankful for Dede and Peter and all that they bring the world. We need that. We need that. And they were just talking about, you know, with their faith and working through all that they've been through with this journey. And, you know, seeing that it's that knowing inside, and then to turn what could seem like such adversity. And let's just face it, it is that what they have been through has been a lot of adversity, but they've been able to recycle all of that, all of the stories, all of their journey, and put it back out there into a beautiful light out into the world that we all need. And I know I certainly appreciate them for that. Okay, until next week, I will see you all